Prevea Health is changing the way it administers tests for COVID-19 with the Department of Health Services. The healthcare company will now be using rapid tests first for those who are being tested.
And that's instead of using the PCR test, which is considered the gold standard. Fox 11's Nick Harrington explains the reason behind the shift.
Chances are you or someone you know has waited in line for a COVID test, only to receive test results at a later date. Prevea Health is changing that.
It's the landscape of where we are with things.
Executive Director of Quality at Prevea Health, Amber Allen, says that's one reason for testing with an antigen test first.
Testing as soon as, when you have symptoms start, will give you the quickest answer. So doing that antigen test first. When we're heading into a cold and flu season where you're trying to figure out COVID, influenza, common cold, it's important to get that answer quickly.
The quickness of the test results is a reason for the change, though some are skeptical the antigen tests aren't as accurate as the PCR. Though health experts say research and testing shows reliability is there.
We've been doing a lot of antigen testing here at our health system at Bellin as the initial test for quite some time.
With the federal mask mandate for public transportation supposed to expire in March, well, that didn't happen. It was extended until next Monday.
That came as the CDC released different guidelines for masking based on community levels of COVID-19. So what can travelers expect at Austin Straubel Airport? Fox 11's Nick Harrington brings us balanced news coverage.
It's been a topic of conversation among travelers going on 2 years now at Austin Straubel International Airport.
The masks are really not doing their job.
If it makes sense from a public health standpoint, it's good.
Masking up both at the airports and during flights has been the policy since spring of 2020.
We've seen a number of extensions over the course of the last year or two, but yeah, we're certainly hopeful that it does end up expiring.
Airport Director Marty Pia doesn't know what's going to happen. As it stands right now, the federal mandate goes through April 18th. Pia saying it's something that hasn't done the airport any favors in terms of staffing.
I think with the mask mandate in place, that maybe makes it a little more impactful at the airport. So hopefully if the mask mandate goes away, we're able to hire more people and accommodate the passengers better.
Still, travel numbers are back to levels that precede the pandemic and are expected to keep rising.
If we need to continue doing it to save lives, so be it.
Peter Johnson is heading to Cleveland. He doesn't mind wearing his mask, but where he will is circumstantial.
Probably on the plane I'll wear the mask. On various settings I'll wear the mask, but certainly I won't wear it as much.
Another traveler, Mark Mount, feels otherwise.
People are getting vaccinated, but yet we're still getting COVID. So my own personal thought is that the masks are really not doing their job.
Regardless of what happens, the airport will still be providing masks if you need one. In Ashwaubenon, Nick Harrington, Fox 11 News.
I think the trajectory as a whole seems good if we continue to follow the trend that the state's experiencing.
I think that the deaths from COVID probably are on the decline. There's better treatments now, and I think those who were going to die from it early on did.
I've had it 3 times already. Have the vaccines. Doesn't bother me anymore. Everyone just, it's going to happen or if you go outside or not.
Well, let's talk a little bit about COVID protocols. Will there be protocols in place? What are you hoping for the year?
We are going back to pre-COVID protocols. So any process that we've had in the past for infectious communicable disease, we're going to follow those practices. So standards such as if I'm not feeling well, I'm going to stay home. If a student or staff member comes to school and they're not feeling well, they're going to go home. As far as COVID, if a person is positive, we are going to do isolation for 5 days. And then upon return, a recommendation from the CDC and Brown County Health is to wear a face covering for days 6 through 10. Okay. But other than that, it's standard practice.
The school year is just around the corner and districts are facing staffing shortages, but outside of the classroom as well.
Yeah, many bus companies are still struggling to find drivers for the school year.
There's a lot of people that just don't want to come and drive because of COVID. I think that's the big issue, why we can't get people out here to drive.
A Fox Cities car show returned today after being canceled the past 2 years. License to Cruise kicked off Oktoberfest weekend in downtown Appleton. Fox 11's Brady Myers spoke with those involved to learn why its return is so special.
thousands made their way to College Avenue for a car show 3 years in the making.
We wanted to make sure when we finally did it that it was going to be big.
It's the 30th license to cruise. Volunteers, car owners, and event organizers were more than ready to see it happen after cancellations in 2020 and 2021.
Largely because of COVID the first year, and the second year because we just didn't have the volunteers to be able to do this.
This is the busiest week of the year for Beeble's Catering and Rental in Bellevue.
It's kind of a silly thing to think of, but we have clipboards that every order goes on to, and this week we almost ran out of clipboards, and that's never happened before.
The reason? Companies hosting Christmas parties for their employees. A recent survey found 57% of companies were planning in-person Christmas parties this year. That's more than double compared to last year, but still below the pre-pandemic level of 75% in 2019. However, Beeble's manager Heather Odie says the types of parties have shifted.
We do some holiday parties that are, still at banquet halls, and it's the sit-down dinner, and you have the china plates and the nice meal. But I think more and more people kind of just enjoy having that break in the work week and just having a nice lunch with coworkers.
Up the street at the right place, out-of-office Christmas parties are still popular.
We had about 4 of them on Saturday. Saturdays are really booming for them. And just like several years ago, they start to book up and they book year after year.
While in-person gatherings are coming back, virtual work Christmas parties are predictably on the decline. Less than 2% of surveyed companies are hosting a Christmas party online, and they weren't even that popular at the height of the pandemic. In 2020, just 17% of surveyed companies hosted a work Christmas party virtually.
It's good to see the groups get together again, for sure. I mean, you work hard all year long. You got to sit back and grab a meal and see what the others are doing and get together.
In Bellevue, Ben Krumholz, Fox 11 News.